Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
I'm gonna make you girls a Humpday treat.
Mike. It's Hump Day.
Perhaps I could help you with that hump. What hump?
A very good day for some midweek malarkey.
Indeed it is, because, you know, the world is too damn serious, quite frankly, and it's good to get together every hump day and just look at some of the sillier things in life. Then some of the dumber things and, you know, some stupid people. Broken Laws and Promises is the title of today's edition of Midweek Malarkey. And I want to start off with something that is, it'll keep you from losing all hope in humanity. It's actually Mother Nature, but what the hell. So this is in Grindavik, Iceland. And this is time-lapse of a volcano going off while the Aurora Borealis, Northern Lights, are happening in Iceland. And just in case you thought that there was nothing else to do in Iceland, let me just tell you. You can go to the Golden Circle and Carrad Crater Tour with geothermal lagoon visits. I wouldn't want to sit in that stuff. Sorry. That's what she said. Volcano eruption site. You can hike there. Again, I wouldn't do it while it's erupting, but that's just me. You can go on the Blue Lagoon, including a transfer. You can go to the Gunavur Hot Springs. Basically, you can do a lot of things in Iceland as long as you enjoy doing things with rocks or hot water. That seems to be the prerequisite. If you like rocks, you like hot water, you're going to love Iceland, especially this time of year. So I'm Brad Staggs, if you are not familiar, and I'm old today officially. 6 decades on the planet. Had I known I was going to live this long, I would have taken far better care of myself. You can find me usually over at the Daily Mojo if you're watching on the dailymojo.com, I would say you've already figured that part out. If you are watching from, X or YouTube or any of the other places, you can always watch over at thedailymojo.com. It's an exciting time. Good time to be alive. And our first story comes to us from the United Kingdom. Yes, we kicked their ass a couple of times in the wars. I want you to take a look at this beach. This beach here is known as Crackington Haven. It's a beach near Bude. That's B-U-D-E, Bude, in Cornwall. It became it doesn't look like it would be a contentious beach, but in fact, it has become a contentious beach. And it's all because of those. It's because of the rocks. Because they're getting all pissed off that people are taking the rocks from the beach. Right? I mean, they're rocks. How many times have we heard it? If we all took a rock from the beach, nobody else would be able to enjoy the rocks on the beach. Years ago, decades ago now, I was in West Texas. We were doing stories for the Nashville Network, and I found at Fort Davis an old square nail. It was rusted out square nail. In retrospect, it was probably 2 years old because they probably just put something up on, something somewhere. It probably wasn't an original nail from the original construction of the Fort Davis structures. But I picked it up. My lighting director is like, hey, Andrew, if you did that, if everybody did that, no one would be able to come here and enjoy the artifacts and the fun stuff at Fort Davis. And so I threw it down. To this day, I'm pissed. You know how much that nail would have been worth if it was an actual, real, authentic old nail? But a local councillor, I think that's what they call lawyers or politicians over in the UK, Barry Jordan, explained that they found out somebody had in fact taken some rocks from this, Crackington Beach, again near Bude in Cornwall. Somebody picked up a handful of stones, put them in his pocket. Those right there look like they would be a little too large. If you're listening to this in podcast form, we're looking at rocks that look like they'd be too large to put in your pocket. But they said, look, we're going to track these people down. And that dude right there on the beach, he could be one of the guys that took the rocks. He says, we got to track down 2 or 3 people. We're having a problem with these things. If we, like some other things I know of recently, we track down 2 or 3 of them, we penalize them, then you'll send a message to everybody else. Don't take our rocks. One guy decided to send the pebbles back because, the pebbles on the beach keep the ocean from taking over everything at Crackington Haven. The counselor, the local city council guy, says we have hundreds of people a year coming to Crackington Haven, and if everybody took 10 stones, how many years would it take to clear those stones from the beach? Please. If it took 10 years then, in 10 years' time, the beach would no longer exist as the waves would have just crashed through. Those pebbles play a massive part in protecting the haven. They play such a massive part, and, you don't want the beach to look like, crap. You don't want it to be all, messed up with signage and stuff that says, hey, don't take rocks from our beach, because that doesn't look tacky. The removal of stones from this beach is prohibited, St. Jenny's Parish Council says. So this guy, and they don't name him, they contact him. He gives them his name and address. We wrote to him very politely, they said. And he drove several hours and several hundred miles back from the Midlands, he says, to bring them back. He drove... Oh, nope. Wouldn't be happening with me. The counselor first, that would be the councilman, first reported the story back in 2018. That's 6 whole years ago, when attention was drawn to the large signs on the beach warning day trippers away from slipping a stone or 2 into their pocket. Because again, if you take them all, it won't be a beach anymore. It'll just be a big hole where water fills it up. They put around their camps at their fire sites at their campsite. This year, because of the weather, there are fewer people. I did catch someone the other month, but it turned out they were just picking up driftwood. So apparently at Crackington no, it's not the name of it. Crackington Haven. That was close. You can pick up the driftwood, but don't pick up the rocks, because that is illegal, and they'll get you. Let's see, what other stupidity do we have today? This man. Not that he's not calling him stupid by a long stretch. No, this man. His name is Walid Akamhaziz. We'll just call him Walid. That's a whole lot simpler. We'll call him Walid, and sorry, that is Humpday Habib. He just wanted to stop in and say hello. Sorry, back to Walid. Walid is a man who grew up in the world's hottest city. And if you're wondering where the world's hottest city is, it is Kuwait City. Who knew? This man here, Walid, spent his entire life in Kuwait City. He's a tour guide. He says no one ever moves away from Kuwait City. That is despite the fact, in fact, it is the hottest city on the planet. Hold on a second. The official temperature on July 21st, 2016, the Mitraba weather station in northern Kuwait recorded the temperature of 54 degrees Celsius. Well, you know that's hot. For those of you, who never learned the metric system, that's 129 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the third highest reading in the world. You know what's coming next. Climate scientists warn. I'll bet that there is a warning at the bottom of this video by now. If you're not watching it live, there's probably a warning at the bottom of it about climate change. Just saying. and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. That's for the algorithm, are warning the country is heating up faster than the rest of the world. So apparently Kuwait City is heating up faster than any other place on the planet. Temperatures are predicted to rise by 10 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century as compared to the 2000s, which is convenient because none of us will be here at the end of this century to verify that. If you are, remember this story. In 2021, the temperatures roared above 122 degrees for 19 straight days. Now, I'll give you, that's hot. I spent the night in Bullhead City, Arizona once, helping one of my parents' friends move furniture for Northern American Van Lines, Northern Van Lines, whatever it is. And it was hot at 120 degrees. But back to Waleed, our dude, the man, the tour guide in Kuwait City. Everybody's trying to keep indoors. Everywhere in Kuwait is air conditioned. Most of the locals escape from the heat, go outside Kuwait during the summer, as in outside, not in Kuwait. But it is so hot. I heard you say it. It is so hot that you cannot legally work outdoors between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. I was like, wait, so it's like a law. You can't make people work out. What if they want to work outdoors? What if they enjoy the heat? Can they see? It's times like that you enjoy the good old US of A for the most part. So the workers work from midnight until in the early morning hours. This guy, Waleed, again, our man, has seen the temperature creep up every year, every summer. He says it feels like it's gotten a little hotter. He says, well, it's always been a place where the mercury rides high. Those living in the largely concrete-made city are having to make more and more adjustments just to cope. Now, here's where it gets really fun, because if you didn't know this about Kuwait City, the electricity is pretty much state subsidized. So if you live there, if you're a citizen, you don't have to pay for electricity, you don't have to pay for health care, you don't have to pay for education, and that's all thanks to up from the ground came a bubbling crude. And I don't know if it's making you jealous or not, but in addition to, they do have beautiful architecture, and then there's the haze in the air if you're riding your bicycle. The tax rate in Kuwait City, according to this story, is 0. That allows most of the 3.5 million people who live in the city to run their air conditioning units constantly. Nice work if you can get it. Almost all enclosed public spaces are blasted with air conditioning most of the day, and at night, the streets are doused in clouds of cooling water. So you see, that wasn't in fact a hazy mist. That was cooling water that they doused the streets. See, they got it going on. They need to do this in Bullhead City. Waleed takes the tourists around the city to show them the sights, which include the spaceship-like Kuwait Towers, which we just saw in the previous image. Again, beautiful architecture. I think they were built in the 70s. The Grand Mosque, the old souk are the other big draws. His groups tend to be about 80% American and the rest European. Which, of course, is the old joke. If you're a Russian in the kitchen, what are you in the bathroom? Yes, in fact, European. Our next guest on the program, good-looking man. Doesn't look like he caused too many problems. This is Coleman Ferguson. He's 37 years old. He was being chased by cops. 120-mile-per-hour chase before he crashed his car into a swamp. That's a little Indiana Creek there, otherwise known as a nasty mud puddle. Which would be okay, except for if you notice on the top of his car, there's like a little rig, maybe a camera set up, because he was taking the pictures for Google Street View. During a court hearing this past Monday, Coleman Ferguson pled guilty to his reckless operation of the camera-equipped vehicle. That happened last year. As part of the March 25th plea agreement, he agreed to a 1-year suspended jail sentence and restitution of $3,220.97. Reminds me of the jerk. He'll also have to pay court and public defender fees. As part of the plea deal, the conviction of Ferguson, who is scheduled for sentencing on May 20th, will be entered as a lesser Class A misdemeanor. Well, that's nice, because it's a felony for going 120 miles an hour and trying to get away from the cops. He was mapping areas outside of Indianapolis last July 31st when a cop spotted the Google vehicle about 5 o'clock, hitting speeds reaching up to 120 miles. Maybe that's why when you look at Google Maps, sometimes it's all fuzzy because the dude was doing 120. The auto had California plates. That explains it. And several 360-degree cameras mounted on a tall antenna. The car was wrapped in a vinyl skin carrying the Google and Street View logos and photos of the Sydney, Australia harbor, which is beautiful this time of year, especially in Indiana. It also had the written recommendation to explore the world at google.com/Street View, which is amazing when you think about the view from right there in that swamp. Beautiful this time of year. Sorry, when I look at these two, I have to laugh. It just makes me want to kind of giggle in a way. Habib even thinks it's funny. And you know how hard it is to get a camel to laugh? It is. So I'd like you to meet a couple of fine, upstanding citizens. Their names are Arnold Mackey. He's 70. He's the one on the right. I mean, we didn't want to misgender anybody, all right? And then there's April White. She is 44, and she's white. She's there on the left. They, how should I put this? Let's see. If I were Jeffy, I'd say they were getting down to business right here in front of the Popeyes. Because, I mean, you got to admit, go to Popeye's Chicken, and you got to have some lovin'. Come on, tell me I'm wrong. I mean, you see the Popeye's Chicken, you're like, got to have me some of that and got to have me some of that right now, which is what the two of these people said. They were on that patch of grass right in front of the Vero Beach restaurant, and they were having a big old time. It's right next to Highway 1, if you're not familiar. A cop happened to drive by, and his name, Deputy Eric Brashears, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're saying, what? That's crazy. 2 o'clock in the afternoon? That's just nuts. And a lot of other things as well. Sorry. But back to April and Arnold. Not a bad name for a show. April and Arnold. Getting on down. A motorist called 911 after spotting the duo, said he did a double take because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Maybe that was because of the sale at Popeyes. Who knew? The witnesses added that the female had her legs open, I'll just say, and the male was businessing. After being read their rights, Mackey reportedly, again, he on the right there, reportedly said it wasn't his intention to expose himself, that he had asked White to leave the side of the road, but she refused. I mean, he's like, hey, we shouldn't be doing this here. She's like, no, we're going to do this here. Right here, in front of Popeyes, in front of God and everybody on Highway 1. And it's her fault. And just look at her. It's got to be her fault. Boy, does she look pissed. He knew, again, Mr. Mackey knew that they were in plain view of passing motorist. He said he's going to apologize to the judge. Because I'm on. When the opportunity presents itself, you're going to say no. I mean, even if you're in front of Popeyes, no matter how good the chicken is, sometimes you just have to wait. By the way, whatever money they saved on Popeye's chicken, they are both in jail right now. Bond set at $7,000 for Ms. White, and Mr. Mackey has got to come up with $5,000. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of chicken right there. This particular episode of Midweek Malarkey is brought to you by preparewithmojo50.com. If you've not yet prepared for the craziness that's going to be the eclipse, because apparently people are going to lose their ever-loving minds during the eclipse. Still haven't really figured that out, but hey, what do I know? Go to preparewithmojo50.com and see if, in fact, there's not some stuff there like this 72-hour emergency food supply for only $28. Preparewithmojo50.com. Back to the lawbreakers. In Houston, according to KTRK TV, in Houston, 3 little rascals that you will see right here. 3 little rascals, aged 11, 12, and 16. They are just lovable. Just want to just hug them, give them a noogie, love on them. They were taken into custody on March 19th after they robbed a Wells Fargo bank in downtown Houston. The 3 little hooligans right there, those rapscallions, handed a threatening note to a bank teller. Remember, 11, 12, and 16. The Harris County Sheriff's Office believes they were armed, but they did not present a weapon. Why would you believe that they are armed then if they didn't present a weapon? I mean, was it, the old finger in the jacket thing? Let's see. After the FBI released the surveillance footage, parents of two of the boys identified them. The little rascals, as they've been dubbed, are facing second-degree felony charges. The age of the younger 2, that's unusual for a bank robbery. He is a retired juvenile district court judge by the name of Mike Schneider. That was his comment. The age of the younger 2, that's unusual for a bank robbery. Yeah, I'd say it is. I say you can, how young is too young to start robbing banks? Who amongst us has not wanted at some time or another when we were, 8, 10, 11 years old, wanted to rob a bank? We're like, and those 3 went out and did it. So good for them. Don't crush their dreams and hopes. I just want to check on the chat room just to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Like Beach Girl. Me too. We're having a great view here if it's not cloudy. I prefer to keep my ends of the end of the world at arm's length, says Zoe. And Deb going to check out the eclipse April 8th. And Zoe knows businessing, referring to the aforementioned Ms. White and Mr. Mackey, who were into some fine malarkey, if you will. All right, back to this guy. This guy here. He's a wacky one, isn't he? But you see, there is a Tesla vehicle and a big old head in the Tesla. That's art. That is art right there, according to Mexican artist Chavez Marmol. He's a 42-year-old. He carved a giant head from stone. And then it says it was inspired by the carvings of the Olmec people. I don't know who the Olmec people, but I'm guessing that they either look like that or they made big stone heads like that. Who knew? He then lowered that onto the Tesla 3 using a crane. I don't think anybody was thinking that he just carried it in and dropped it on there, but he did use a crane. And it's intended, obviously, to troll Elon Musk. Obviously, right? The artist says, look what I do to your lousy... Hold on. Look what I do to your lousy car. That's not either. Look what I do to your lousy car. Nope, I ain't got it. Look what you do to you. Look what I do to your lousy car with this wonderful head. It's bigger than you and the rampant technologies. Tesla, of course, has recently announced a plan to build a factory in northern Mexico. The wonderful thing about art, it allows you these atrocities, according to Marmol. I don't know, maybe he just doesn't like Teslas. I like Teslas. He's ruined a perfectly good Tesla with a giant head in it. Our next wonderful human being goes by the name, or went by the name, or attempted to go by the name of Samuel Davalos Pasillas. 47-year-old dude says he was a pastor in Victorville, that's in California. This was in late March. They arrested him in Riverside for hiring two men to kill his daughter's boyfriend. Now, what kind of pastor would do that? That doesn't seem very pastor-like. Samuel Davalos Pasillas, he's 47, but he looks like he's 110, doesn't he? The hitmen surveilled the victim for months before the shooting. It took place October 21st, 2023, as the victim sat in his car. The hitmen drove up next to him and shot him. Don't worry, they just winged him. He's fine. Well, the police ended up arresting Juan Manuel Cabreros, of 55. They are still looking for Jesus or Jesus. If it's Jesus Abel Felix Garcia, good grief, how many names the guy got? Jesus Abel Felix Garcia. Now, the thing is, you may have guessed this, but that is not the real pastor. Neither is that, come to think of it. He's not the real pastor. The real pastor is like, hey, that's not me. He's not a pastor. He's actually a volunteer. I mean, you wouldn't know that by looking at him. You're looking at, hey, pastor. The man you just saw there a second ago, this dude, fine, upstanding citizen. Peace. He works at Chipotle. And if you run into this dude at Chipotle, his name's Kasim Ransom. He's 26 years old. He is the manager. So, again, he's moving up. He's taking some responsibility, and that's good. 26-year-old with some responsibility, finally. Right? Am I right? Come on. But Kasim has a little problem, apparently, because a couple of women, and hashtag believe women, apparently may have known this dude. Two women at the Camp Hill Chipotle, that's in Harrisburg, up in Pennsylvania. They went into the local police station after they had visited the Chipotle there, and they filed a complaint on March 18th. The women, one of whom was a former Chipotle employee herself, said that they were sitting at the table in Chipotle. Just so you can get an idea of where they were sitting, that's the community table they were sitting in at Chipotle. They told the cops they were seated there, talking with Ransom, that Kasim, and other employees, when he began doing something with his hands down his crotch. One of the women said she saw Ransom, how do I put this, touching his jeans. Recalling she was in denial and looked away, the woman added that Ransom grabbed numerous napkins. Let that one sit right there for you. Second woman reported noticing Ransom moving his hands a lot. And then when the former Chipotle worker got up to leave the table, how do I... It may have been that the chicken was just really juicy and ran all... that's probably what it was. I mean, especially if you order the salsa, the really runny salsa. It does. It gets everywhere. During police questioning, Kasim, Mr. Ransom, 26, manager, taking, again, responsibility, reportedly confirmed the incident in verbal and written statements. Good for him. Always come clean. Always come. He was charged yesterday with multiple misdemeanors. Of course, now all I hear when I hear that now is the off-track gang. He was charged yesterday with multiple misdemeanors, including indecent exposure, indecent assault, open lewdness, and all kinds of fun stuff. Oh, by the way, he was suspended from Chipotle. And if he hasn't been already, he might be fired. You see, you do have to sometimes remind yourself there are good people, and I'm not saying he is necessarily. I'm just saying there are good people in the world. It keeps you from wanting to take a bath with a toaster. This is a cute little baby hedgehog. Have you ever held a hedgehog? Because they are cute. They are really, really cute. They're cute and not really fuzzy. I mean, they're prickly, but they are cute. And a woman who was in Knutsford, Cheshire, which is a good place for this woman to be. She was in the Lower Moss Wood Nature Reserve and Wildlife Preserve, and she saw what she thought was a poor little, one of these, a poor little animal, and it needed her help. So she picked it up and she put it in a box. And she put it in a box with some food, just in case. Because, again, you don't want the poor little hedgehog to starve to death. So she finds this in the nature preserve. She immediately sets out for the local animal hospital. She brings in the box. Says, hey, found this poor little hedgehog. He's out there. He was he was in the cold. He wasn't moving. It was horrible. Didn't know what to do, so I put some what looks like dog food or vomit, one of the two, and put it on a plate next to the little hedgehog. And I just wanted to see if you all could do anything for the poor little hedgehog. And so when the manager of the hospital, I guess that's who they are over there, the hospital manager, her name is Jeanette Kotze. She opened the box, and here's a picture of her surprise when she opened the box. That's Janet Kotze there. That's the woman at the animal hospital who opened up the box and realized that, in fact, that was not a hedgehog. It was just a little bauble that goes on a hat. I mean, it's cute. You got to admit it's a cute little. They call it what do they call it? It's not a bauble. It is a bauble. Anyway, when they revealed the true nature of what the thing was in the box, the woman, who was obviously embarrassed, said, "You're kidding." She then walked out of the hospital with her box. Maybe she did it for YouTube. Hospital manager said it was the first admission of the day. The lady came in with a box. She said she'd found this baby hedgehog on the pavement, and it was cold. She picked it up. I was alarmed, as it's very early for baby hedgehogs. I opened the box and, well, couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought it's definitely not a hedgehog, perhaps some other fluffy kind of woodland creature. And then I realized it wasn't moving. And it's just a big woolly ball. Sometimes life just hands you big woolly balls. Doesn't it? Who hasn't wanted to ride a Harley Davidson? We got into this a bit this morning on the Daily Mojo, but just to be a little further in depth to the story, this was a press release released by the Titusville Police Department in Florida. They responded to a Miracle City Harley Davidson location. Aptly enough. Accident occurred 4 o'clock, 4:15 on Monday this week, police said that an investigation revealed that the unidentified man was test driving a Harley Davidson. And apparently, why does that not look like the same? That might not be the a picture associated with this story, but what the hell, let's go with it. Because they all look like they have guns drawn. Maybe they're just really upset that the guy test drove the motorcycle and ran it through a nearby shopping center window when he lost control of it. It was a 2014, so I mean, it's not that expensive, right? It's a 10-year-old Harley. How much can they possibly be? $30,000, $40,000, $50,000? So he is test driving. He crashes through the exterior wall of an unoccupied storefront. The victim was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries, pronounced deceased at about 4:40 in the afternoon. No other injuries, nobody else involved, just one person who was overly confident in his motorcycling abilities, which if you're thinking about buying a motorcycle, don't be that person. And I remember taking the license for my motorcycle in Nashville, and there was somebody there that, it was like the first motorcycle they'd ever had. They bought a big old Harley, 1,000-pound bike, and they're trying to pass the test with it, which is ridiculous in and of itself. But then, they think they're, once they learn how, they're going to go out there and get this the biggest, baddest bike they can find, which is what this man right here and his YouTube channel is lamenting. This is the Ride Like a Pro YouTube channel, and this guy nails it on the head.
And you got your motorcycle license, and it doesn't say anything on that license about what size motorcycle you should buy, so you should be ready for the biggest, baddest bike you could find, right? Well, we're going to find out. Stay tuned. We're going to focus on just this one rider you see with the white shirt on the electric light. And as you can see here, he's going way too slow.
Yeah.
Of course, the motorcycle tips over as soon as he attempts to make a turn.
Yeah.
This rider told me he's had this bike for about a year. He's ridden 10,000 miles on it. Now, he went through the Rider's Edge course where they give you the basics. And after they finish the course, they tell you need to keep practicing. They don't tell you to get the biggest, heaviest bike you could find. But that's sort of what this rider did. And I'm betting, at least by what I can see here, he's never practiced anything that he learned in that basic course because he can't ride in the friction zone. He's got the clutch fully engaged, and that means he's going too fast for his skill level. He misses the pivot point with that. He's supposed
to be making a U-turn in those cones, and he is not even. Imagine if this was in the middle of traffic. And the reason this is important is because you got to watch for people. If you're on four wheels, watch out for motorcycles. Number one, because, they're easy to miss, quite frankly. Always watch for them. Give them a lot of distance because they can stop on a dime. Let me just tell you. Motorcycles are a lot lighter than cars, most of them. And they can stop. Never tailgate a motorcycle. Always look for one headlight. And also, watch for people who are uncoordinated on their bike because they are obviously the most likely to make a mistake and to do something stupid in front of you. And you want to be able to not run over them. That's the idea. And this guy, bless his heart,
is standing with the white shirt on and pointing to the pivot point. He misses that completely, turns his head after he passes through the U-turn area, and that U-turn is about 30 feet wide. Here I'm riding him through the exercise, and I'm explaining to him exactly what I'm doing as I go along so that he would get the feel of what the motorcycle should be doing.
And by the way, that is not the same guy who went and, was test driving a Harley and then ran into a wall. Although I don't know that it's not the same guy. Also, if you are if you're not a Daily Mojo viewer / listener, make sure that you join our little texting soiree, the club without a name. That way you can send us really cool memes and stuff, like this one. Bo, I think the bridge is out ahead. I think that was Edith who sent us that one. Too soon? Never. And this one finally got that bidet installed. Follow me for more DIY tricks. Pretty cool. Pretty funny. Because sometimes you just have to laugh.
Sadly, that's enough malarkey for one Wednesday. Any more would be a crime. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button if there is one. Otherwise, just punch subscribe. Not the way they do it in New York City. If you know, you know. And we'll call it even. Don't miss tomorrow's exciting and yet somehow heartbreaking edition of the Daily Mojo with me and producer Ron. Then on Saturday, starting at 9, it is Saturday Morning Live with Jeffy and me. Think of us as the Kmart version of Bugs Bunny and Friends. Almost. Till then, this is Brad Stagg saying, come on, Cactus is our friend. He'll point out the way. Until next week, Habib and I bid you a fond farewell.